Hello and welcome to the show. This is Everything Under the Sun. My name is Ty. Hope all of you are doing the best you can to take care of yourselves today and every day, hopefully. As many of you may know, the Capitol building got stormed this past week, and I mean, what a crazy series of events. I mean, just this entire election has just been kind of wild. I mean, it's been truly a trip to say the least, and the Capitol building getting stormed by angry protesters is just something that I think was icing on the cake with all of it, and hopefully this is a cake that we can just put in the trash or burn and kind of set aside, because I am still hopeful that this year can be something that's really great. But I mean, this is definitely an interesting start to the year, and I think that maybe it can definitely decrease motivations for the hopefulness of this year, but I'm so hopeful. Again, a lot of times things have to get worse before they get better, or I like to believe that. And, hopefully this is just the ending again to just a terrible cake of 2020, and we can just push that to the side and kind of clump that in with last year. But there's just a lot of stuff happening right now, and I hope that everyone's taking care of themselves and kind of trying to keep themselves grounded in some kind of ways, because that's what's going to help us to propel ourselves into the places that we actually want to be in this year. So take that time for yourself to unwind, relax, get back to yourself, understand yourself, how you're feeling, how you're doing mentally, and allow yourself to focus your intentions on things that you actually want, and remove all these distractions, all these negative things that are really, I think, bogging up our mental space in so many different ways. So give that time to yourself, give that time to reflect. It's been a lot rainier where I'm at, so I've been definitely taking that time to just be more indoors, to cook warmer food, to be more comfortable, and kind of just get back to myself. And it's something that's so important, because I don't think we realize how much the outside world can influence us, and how much just all the things that we have to deal with, small to large issues, like how they just culminate and start to wear on us in different ways. So it's important to take that step back and breathe and just realize how you're being affected by all of it, and get back to a good baseline for yourself. So that's that. Thinking about this new year and just new prospects for it, I was on Facebook the other day, and I saw a post that a friend had made. And this is a friend that we had gone through elementary school, middle school, high school together. And I mean, we haven't really kept in touch. We kind of like distanced ourselves from each other as time went on, as most people do within elementary school friends and things like that. But we stayed connected on Facebook, and they recently posted about how they're about to do this adventure from the Bahamas to Florida, paddleboarding over the ocean from the Bahamas to Florida. I mean, this is just, I mean, it's kind of crazy. As I read this, I had to read it twice, because I was really trying to figure out, I'm like, do you mean by the ocean? But this is going to be over an 80-mile trek that they're going to be doing. And it's going to be, I think they're planning for June time, but they're training right now. And the post was very inspirational, because this person, I mean, they have transformed their body, does like a bunch of CrossFit, like truly they could kick my ass so easily, and I wouldn't fight back. And not because they're a girl, but because if I fought back, then they'd probably beat me up more. But they just like completely transformed their body, like completely change their body in the way that they wanted to see it change. And I think that's something so amazing, and such an amazing accomplishment in itself. But this new challenge was something that they had expressed was something that was bringing them some anxiety or some fear around it, and how that's pushing them further towards it. And I think that's something so amazing. And at the end of the post, they had said, go towards the things that make you afraid, because they'll, help you become stronger, or something like that. But it's something that I fully advocate for, and something that I think I've mentioned before on this podcast, where there are a lot of things that make us afraid, a lot of things that we're fearful of, a lot of things that bring us a lot of anxiety about taking that step. But once we do it, it can bring us so much more understanding in ourselves, the strengths that we have within ourselves, and the realization that we can take that step and not know if we're going to fall or succeed, but still take that step anyway, And I think that is kind of one of those things where it's like, despite the fear that's being felt, despite the anxiety that's being felt in any situation, the moment that you take that step forward, despite all of that, that in itself is an amazing strength. So I saw this post that a friend made, and it was something that I guess reinstilled motivation in me to kind of push myself to those limits and outside of that comfort zone. And sometimes I think we're so in our comfort zone that we don't realize that we're not really pushing it as far as we really can, and essentially pushing our potential as far as it really can. So I think that that's just really something amazing, and something that I think inspires me to be hopeful for this next year, and all the things that we can accomplish and we will accomplish in this next year. So I'm going to kind of go on this topic because, I think it's an important topic, the topic of money. It's something that's just relevant for all of us. I mean, we all are impacted by money in some way. So if you have any ideas or thoughts or anything like that you'd like to send to this podcast as far as just anything, you can send them to everything.sunpodcast@gmail.com or any of the social media pages that I will link at the end of this podcast. So episode for next week is going to be, potential. So potential is going to be the topic for next week, and I think this is something that is kind of the root of many things that I speak about, where we have so much potential within ourselves, but we can't actually pursue our potential or start enacting our potential until we realize that we actually have that, So we have to start by recognition, start recognizing the potential that we have, which is, really boundless, as long as we believe it to be so. So potential, an amazing topic. I think this is going to be something that is useful for all of us and something that we can all use in our lives and recognize within our lives to help us move forward towards things we want. So that's awesome. Potential, thanks for sending this in. Again, everything.sunpodcast@gmail.com if you have any more topics or ideas or anything like you like to add about anything that's been on the show. So yeah, just going to go into this topic here. Today is the topic of money, and I think it's something that, again, we all are impacted by in so many ways because we need money to move in so many different domains in our lives. But money is so impactful in so many different domains. It's not just something that influences just the things that we are able to buy, but influences just our psyche, our mental health, or the way that we actually move as people. It's so impactful. It's kind of crazy. There was a quote in an article that I had read, and I forgot who the quote was by, but I was essentially saying, like, money isn't everything, but it's up there with oxygen or something like that. And just like that idea, it seems like it's something that, it's sad to admit that it seems like it's something that may be true. As far as just oxygen is something that we need to breathe, and the way that we move through society and the way that we have a relationship with money, it seems almost akin to that, where it's like, it seems like in order to live, we need money. And that's not something that's necessarily the case, but to a degree, money does provide certain things that help to influence the quality of our lives and maybe even the duration of our lives. So money itself, it's something that's such a strange entity. People work for it, obviously. People stress and cry over it. People cheat and steal and kill over it. It's something that is just so impactful in all of our lives in so many different ways that it's kind of hard not to think of it as being something so critical towards our well-being. I started getting on the thought of just like, what is money and how do we even create the value for money? And it brought me back to just the original currency, and that's just like the barter system, how people traded the things that they had or the services that they had for other things and services. So if you wanted your roof fixed, maybe you had to trade 3 goats and a chicken for that roof repair. But think about how arbitrary that is. What is the value of the goats versus the chickens? There are so many different things that are involved within that whole dynamic, including the person that's providing the service. So that person that's providing that roof service for the 3 goats and chicken may not actually want 3 goats and a chicken. Maybe they want 3 cows instead. Maybe they want a month's worth of goat milk, and that is equivalent to different forms of currency, but that person is creating that value. And I don't know, I just started getting on a tangent of thinking about how we started creating the value for these different things that we have, like the value of $1, the value of a yen, the value of a euro. These different monetary values are things that seem like they're almost arbitrarily created by, people in so many different ways. But that is the value that is created as far as just what it's worth. But what's the value that we put on it? What's the value that we're actually putting on money itself? And it seems like we put a lot of value on it, being as, what I said earlier, we work all our lives for it. People cry and stress over it. People kill over it. And it's become something so big that it's moving outside of just the value of what the actual dollar is worth to the value that we've imposed on it. How much of our interest is in the pursuit of money? Just money in itself. And that is creating value or putting value in the idea of money and not necessarily the value of money itself. Because your passion for money or gaining money or getting money isn't actually changing the dollar amount. So what is the value that money truly has for us? Of course it has the utility of, providing our needs, food, shelter, clothing, but it's also providing our wants, the things that we start wanting to do once we have our needs met. So maybe we want to travel to different places in the world. Maybe you want new technologies, newest phone, newest Apple Watch. Maybe you want better food and to eat in a nicer restaurant. Maybe you want a bigger house or more clothes. A big ass closet that you can just walk in and wear something new every single day and not have to worry about wearing the same thing. And if we're moving further away from the things that we need and more towards things that we want, then what is actually influencing our wants? Are people just wanting more than they did back in the day? Why would that be? And I mean, the biggest thing is just like there's more stuff. There's just more stuff around. I mean, we are a consumerist society. Our society is bound and based upon the idea of purchasing things and buying things and having more and more and more. And this is something that isn't necessarily unique to the United States. This is in most first world nations. Our world is something that is starting to move in this way of valuing just that commerce, that need for constantly inflating our society by buying things. So if our basic needs are being met and our wants are starting to expand towards just buying a culmination of so many different things, then what is actually influencing our wants? And many of those things are advertisements and social influences that we have. So not only our society in itself that's promoting this idea of just buying things and consuming more, but there are things within our society that are also moving pieces and causing more change within the things that we believe that we want for ourselves. Think about advertising. I mean, there are many advertisements that, they're specifically targeted to get you to buy something or to look at something that you may not have known about, but it's also something that is relevant to you. I mean, these are like targeted ads that many of us have seen before. But advertising is something it's so much more than just promoting a product. I think I mentioned before about a psychology teacher of mine telling me that, if you want to make money in psychology, it's not going to be with counseling or helping people. It's going to be in advertising, because advertising agencies specifically pay people, psychologists, people that understand the human psyche. They pay people to figure out a demographic and try to get the things, the words, the sounds, the visuals that are going to attract their attention and make you feel like you want something that you didn't previously want before. And as our wants increase, as our wants change, as we get more advertisements and things, we feel like we need these things in our lives. But when we're compounded with the need or the want for these things in our lives and the realization that those things cost money, then that's when we kind of run into that dynamic of like, how much value are we actually placing on money itself? Because now people are pursuing money so they can buy these things that they believe that they need. And of course, it's not necessarily bad to purchase things that you want. I mean, I love purchasing things I want. I definitely don't mind having more money and doing the things that I want to do with that money. But the problem is that we seem to be bombarded in the society that is built upon and kind of moves with this idea of wanting more and needing more and having bigger and better and newer. And when we constantly have a society that's kind of pushing this idea on people, then people start feeling bad within themselves when they don't have that newer thing, when they don't have that bigger thing, when they don't have more, and they see other people maybe that have more, or people that can do more because of the things that they have for themselves. And when that idea of wealth or status or just material gain is something that is idealized, it begins to shape the way that we move and the things that we start pursuing for ourselves. So now we're not necessarily moving towards the things that we truly desire within ourselves. We're moving towards just money in itself, thinking that it will provide everything that we want, but we haven't actually narrowed down what that is. And that's the biggest thing, where it's like money can provide the things that we want for ourselves. There's actually a threshold where it can actually provide benefits for ourselves, like a better livelihood for ourselves to a certain point. But then after that point, it doesn't actually increase our happiness in any way. Even if it can gain you all the things, a yacht, a private jet, all these different things, those things don't equate to level of happiness. It's really the pursuit of the things that we truly desire for ourselves. And those things may come along with gaining money. Like if you want to own your own business, then that's the end goal. And the money may come along with that. Like as you gain a successful business, start building that for yourself, money may come to you. You may become a millionaire. But the goal itself wasn't the money. It was the dream to aspire towards doing the thing that you truly want for yourself. There are so many people that believe that money is the root of all evil, but it's not. I mean, money is just money. Money is just a material thing, and what we decide to do with it, how we decide to gain it, is what is actually the determining factor of whether this is something that is beneficial or something that's more detrimental to ourselves and maybe those around us. There's a term that I discovered recently while I was kind of planning this episode out, and it was a term called affluenza. And I had to read it a couple times because I didn't really know exactly what I was reading, because I thought I was reading influenza and I thought I was reading affluence, and it was an article about money, so obviously I was thinking affluence, but it's basically the merging of these two things, affluence and influenza, kind of this spread of the want for money, the pursuit of money, and it's been something that is spreading kind of like influenza, and it's kind of just going with that idea of just how our society is really starting to structure and promote this idea of just needing more and wanting more and pursuing that kind of affluent lifestyle. And of course, again, there's nothing wrong with pursuing like the things that are incorporated within that affluent lifestyle, but it's more or less, what are we doing within ourselves? Are we overstressing ourselves? Are we over worrying ourselves? Are we putting ourselves in positions that we're compromising our morality and the things that we truly believe in to achieve money? There have actually been studies done that show that morality itself is starting to be compromised as money is put into the picture. You get a situation where it's like, okay, well, you could lie to your best friend, the best friend that you feel like you would never lie to, and you can lie about something really serious. I'll give you $10,000 if you lie to like your friend about this very serious thing. Some people will take that money and say, okay, well, it's just one lie. But if you were offered $5 to betray your friend's trust or to lie to your friend about something that had happened, then you may not accept that. You're like, no, my friendship is worth more than that. But as money increases, the things that we are actually doing, the decisions that we make are being influenced by that. It's important for us to understand those influences, because why would we allow money to impact the very things that we believe in within ourselves? But when it really comes down to it, it's really just about us recognizing how it's impacting like truly who we are. There's so many things that we dream about, so many things that we aspire towards, and so many times people's dreams and aspirations get crushed because of things that are revolving around money. So many fears are revolving around money. There are so many things that, I've spoken about just with various topics in this podcast that revolve around money. And it's important for us to actually realize how much that's impacting us, how much money in itself is at the root of many of those situations. And even if we do realize that, the next thing to realize within ourselves is that despite money being an obstacle or whatever that may be in your path towards pursuing the things you want, as long as you still want that thing, as long as you are not willing to let that go, then you will achieve that thing. There are many challenges and obstacles that we go through in life, and many things that we have to deal with in order to get to the places that we want to be. And money is one of those things that many people have to deal with. It's a hurdle that many people have to go through. But, listening to entrepreneurs, listen to the people that have built so many industries in this nation, in this world, they're people that, didn't stop. They're people that continue to go and continue to try to pursue the things that they wanted to pursue in life and kept that dream alive within themselves despite all the hardships that they had to go through. So as we go through life and as we try to pursue the things that we want for ourselves, money aside, hold true to who we are and realize the things that we truly want for ourselves, and that will help to get us to where we want to go. There's so many avenues in which this conversation could have gone as far as just money, but I feel like the root of all of it is just who we are and the people that are actually interacting with money, the people that are actually influenced by money, the people that are going through ebbs and flows in life because of it. So that's the direction I decided to go with it because of that reason. But there are so many different topics for conversation just within this realm of money. I spoke about earlier how the barter system was something that was used centuries ago, and just a conversation and just how that got to where it is now, to where we're virtually going to a cashless form of society where people are literally starting to use cash less. Like, physical money is becoming more and more obsolete. I was listening to a TED Talk where a woman was speaking about how in China, there are certain places in China that even if you have physical money, like paper money, you can't buy the product that you want to buy unless you use like an electronic form of currency. And this is just the direction that we're moving in so many different respects just with money. And I feel like that alone changes the way that we spend. I know personally, I spend a lot more when I use my card versus when I have cash. Cash, I can see when it's going away. If I'm out of cash, and I'm out of money. But if I'm using my card, then I don't see how much money is going out of my account. The card still looks the same, the numbers still look the same, so it's a lot easier to spend in that way. There have actually been studies showing a dramatic increase in just the amount of debt that people are having just because of credit cards. It's so easy to spend and swipe your credit card and then end up having this huge credit card bill that ultimately causes you to have less money than you had before. Another conversation within this topic could just be about the shift in the integration of technology within online banking. Again, we're moving towards more of a cashless society, so we're starting to see more and more people using online banks or using ATMs that have almost like a full banking experience. You can deposit, you can deposit checks. You can do so many different things with that. You can even deposit checks by taking a picture on your phone. It's like there's so many different ways in which people are starting to just move money around, which of course has its own implications. Like individuals that are in different populations that may not know how to use the technologies or may not have access to technologies that can provide them the services. Another huge conversation that can be had about this is just the idea of financial dependence. There's so many people that are financially dependent in many different ways, and it's something that's not well understood. Financial dependence is something where individuals are dependent upon a job, a situation, a person to basically manage their finances or to provide their finances. And it's so unfortunate how many people are plagued by financial dependence, especially being that we live in a consumer society, a society that's based around spending money and using money. And the reason for this financial dependence is because there's just a lack of knowledge about finances. In 2018, only 17 states required financial literacy courses in high school. This means only 17 states out of the 50 states required individuals to learn how to actually use money and manage their money. With so few people being really knowledgeable about how to actually manage their finances, of course there's going to be a lot of people that are financially dependent on other people to manage their money. But when you start relying on other people to manage your money, you start losing control over what's happening to your money. I mean, there are so many celebrities that I'm sure you've heard stories of losing millions and millions of dollars because of their manager or their accountant or whoever it is started taking money from them right under their nose. So when you start giving control to other people with your money, then you may end up getting screwed over in the end. So it's just better in the end to just kind of know how to manage your own money and know what's happening to your own money so you have more control over it. There was actually a book that my mom suggested to me. I'm not sure if any of you have heard about it, but it's called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I haven't actually read it yet, but it's on my book list. And, I mean, I've heard really good things about it from people that have read it. And apparently it's something that's really good for just helping you to understand finance a little bit better and maybe a good resource if you're looking for kind of learning how to do something like that. But that's definitely something that is on my to-do list, especially as I approach this episode about money. I think this is kind of just a great reminder to check out this book and kind of see what it has to offer. Another conversation within this topic could have been just about the pricing model that we have. I mean, that goes in just the kind of domain of understanding more about just money and how it's being used in our society. But the pricing model is also something that's strategically made to entice people more. Like you've seen the infomercials that it's like something product is $19.99. Like, why isn't it $20? But the reason it's not $20 is because someone would rather pay $19.99 than $20. And although it's one penny, it's something like within our psyche, we're just more inclined to choose the lower value, even if it's just one penny. And this is something that goes along with advertising, where it's like there are people that are strategically organizing these pricing models to entice the individual to buy them more. So as we understand that more, we can make more informed decisions as we're starting to buy things. So we're not impulsive to think that, oh yeah, I'm getting a better deal with this, not realizing that it's actually not that much better. I mean, a big thing with that is like car payments. Like you get, you see the car ads and you see like the pricing for this like Mercedes for like $270 or something ridiculous, and you don't see like in the fine print all the taxes and fees and interest and things that are accumulating because of it. And of course, that's just like normal car buying things, but there's also the initial down payments and things that are needed in order for that price to be there. So there are so many things that are just within how we structure things and how things are kind of advertised and put forward in front of us to get us to feel more inclined to actually buy that thing. So again, there are so many different avenues that I could have gone with this. I just had like a page full of notes of different places that I could have gone with this episode, and I decided to just, do it on the impact that money has on us, like on a deeper level. I think that's where it really counts, because there's so many people that are struggling in many different domains, and a lot of it comes down to money. And the more we come to terms and realize the impact it has on us, the more we can control how we're going to move with it. But yeah, that's all I got for this episode. I hope this was something that was along the lines of what the individual wanted. But again, yeah, I think I shifted it up a little bit as I started thinking more about it. But if you have any ideas or thoughts or anything like that, or any suggestions for follow-ups with this idea of money, you can send those to everything.sunpodcast@gmail.com, or you can join the Instagram page and send it there to Everything.Sun Podcast, or you can join the Twitter page at Every Sun Podcast or the Facebook page at Everything Under the Sun with Ty. So, yeah, that's all I got. Love you all, and I will see you next time.